Okay, what I have here is hard apple cider that I brewed myself, and it was so easy to do. I didn't go out and buy any brewing equipment. I didn't get a hydrometer. I didn't check specific gravity. I know when I bought this bottle of regular apple cider that there was enough sugar in it to make a pretty strong alcoholic drink using regular bread yeast. I didn't even get brewer's yeast, just stuff you can get at the grocery store. And there's not a whole lot you need to know. But I'll show you how I did it, real easy. And I'd like to mention real quick, this isn't just about making an alcoholic drink to enjoy, not that there's anything wrong with that, but before the days of refrigeration, before the days of chlorinated water, this is how people preserve things. This is how people prevented themselves from getting sick. This is how they killed pathogens in the water. People, they didn't really understand, biology so much as they understood that people who drink drinks with a certain amount of alcohol in them did not get the stomach ailments and didn't get dysentery and all these other things like people who didn't. And so this was an important, actually, health knowledge to do this. It's how you preserve things. Let me show you how to do it. Real easy, super simple. I'm not going to make it complicated. Watch. Alright, I've always wanted to try this. I'm going to make today some hard apple cider. I am going to brew this bottle of regular apple cider, and I'm going to use a very, very simple formula. I'm not going to do anything to this apple cider except put yeast in it, and I'm going to use just regular baker's dry yeast. I'm not going to use brewer's yeast, although the trade-off, from what I understand, between brewer's yeast and using bread yeast on apple cider is you'll get more carbonation with the bread yeast, less alcohol. And vice versa with the brewer's yeast, you get more alcohol, less carbonation. Just the way the yeast behaves, and part of the reason is the brewer's yeast is more resistant to the alcohol. In other words, it'll survive longer in the alcohol, and therefore it'll produce more alcohol. But I don't think there's enough sugar in this to produce a strong alcoholic drink anyway, and this should be fine. And from different articles I've been gleaning, this does work. So all I'm going to start with is pasteurized. The reason we don't want anything but the yeast bacteria to get in here, and that's why this is already a sterile environment, and it makes it really easy. You don't have to go through sterilizing anything. We're going to pop the cap off, pop the yeast in, and then I'm going to take one of these balloons and put over the top of it, make an airlock so that the gases can get out without letting bad bacteria in that will ruin it. So I went through just simply, I wiped down the scissors, I wiped down this, I wiped down my hands, everything, so everything's sterilized. And I'm going to pop the top on this. And I'm going to open this bag of dry yeast, which will reconstitute once it's inside here. So I'm going to pour some of this into a cup here. I think I might have poured out a little of my yeast, so I'm going to introduce the rest of the yeast back into it. Shake it up. You can tell I'm a beginner. This is my first shot at this very simple formula. Packet of regular bread yeast and regular apple cider. And then I'm going to take one of these balloons and I'm going to poke a tiny little hole in it. And that's going to be my airlock. And then I'm going to stretch this over the top. That's it. And then I'm going to let it sit in a nice, cool, dark place for 8 or 9 days. And then what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to put it into some regular liter used soda pop bottles that can take pressure add maybe a little more sugar to it right then and see if I can get some good carbonation. I might even use one of those little pump pressurizers. Make sure that we have a fizzy apple cider when I'm done. All right. Okay, it's nighttime now, and I just wanted everyone to see that the bubbling action going on there, that is the yeast doing its job. It's consuming those sugars and carbohydrates in there, and I expect to have some very delicious hard apple cider in about 9 days. Alright, we'll see what happens. Okay, and that was it. I just dropped the yeast in, put it in a cool, dark place, let it brew for a couple weeks, and then I moved the brew into the refrigerator to allow the yeast to drop and to cool it down, and it turned out quite tasty. It tastes very similar to beer, actually. It's pretty good.